Good day. It's another day on the BNS podcast. Welcome, and wherever you are in the world, it's a fabulous day for us. Out here in the US, it's snowing, and I know my guest today can't say that because she's someone on the West Coast where I want to believe that it is hot and sunny. Tiffany Nicole, welcome to the BNS podcast. You are so welcome on the platform.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. Tiffany, you have a very unique and interesting story. Very, very unique and interesting story. Um, I've done a lot of studies in the area with young men who have been incarcerated over a period of time. Um, I used to teach in the public school system in the Baltimore city. Now, if you know anything about Baltimore, it's a hardcore place, right? So
Yes.
so I've been involved in working with young men for a number of years, and when I read about your story, I felt like I gotta get you on. I'll let you share your story. Introduce yourself to us, Tiffany, and to the rest of our audience across the globe.
What's going on, audience? How we feeling today? So, where do I begin? Let's see here. I'm just gonna dive right on in. So, basically, I'm originally from Chicago. Moved to LA about 7 years now, and I thought life was gonna be just like they said in the movies. I thought it was gonna be
Hollywood.
like they're gonna roll out the red carpet for me, and they're gonna give me some champagne. Negative. That did not happen. It was a struggle. So with that being said, I have a 25-year-old. I'm a single mother. I only have one child, one and done. And let's see here. I'm a mother to an inmate. And my son was on the run during the whole pandemic. And during that time frame, I gained over like 25 pounds. I was in depression. And I was looking for some type of support group for mothers with incarcerated kids. But I just couldn't find what I was looking for because I believe in Jesus. So, and I was just like, So next thing I know, I created my own platform for mothers with incarcerated kids. I have a Facebook group and I have a podcast for mothers with incarcerated kids. So the journey of my son is where, like I stated, he was on the run for all of the pandemic. So he was calling me from all different numbers. And eventually he got caught. And this was during the George Floyd situation. So so that's where the weight gain came from because of all that what was happening in the world at that time. So I just felt like since he was on the run, blackmail, my heart was just pounding every day. But eventually he got caught and they transferred him back to the state of Illinois because that's where he's at now. And but just like his name is Damiani. So Damiani, he had a good childhood. Football practice, we paid for all those camps and everything, and we went to church. We praised the Lord with the saints and everything. And I thought, I did a great job. And then what I'm learning that when I talk to other mothers, it doesn't matter what race, black, white, it doesn't matter. When that child, especially for a male, I can't speak for young girls because I don't have a girl, so I can't speak on that. But for black males, I learned that Damiani shifted between the age of 16 and 17. That's when he changed. He was a sweet, innocent little boy. And then he wanted that father that I could not provide. And I know women be like, I'm the woman, I'm the man. I ain't any of that. I'm just the woman that Jesus called me to be. So I asked my guy friends to talk to him. But of all the male people that was in his life, he just wanted his dad. And his dad was not there. So it just came out of rebellious. And there was nothing that I can do. And my son ended up getting shot in the process too before the pandemic. In 2019, he got shot. And I found out he got shot. I was still living in Los Angeles. I found out he got shot. The young girl, I remember like it was yesterday, she called me late night and she goes, Miss Tiffany, I think I saw Damiani on Snapchat. I think they shot him.
Wow.
So they recorded him on Snapchat. They stood over his body and they put it on Snapchat. So thank God for this little girl who was on Snapchat at that time of night because she called me. So basically, obviously, Damiani survived. I thought he got on the straight and narrow. He went to work. He got a car. He was back on the straight and narrow. And then something shifted again where he lost his job and he didn't want to call me and ask for money. I don't know if that's an ego thing with men because he's like at the age of 23 at this time. Or no, he's at the age of like 19. He just didn't want to ask me for any money. And I would have sent the $200. That's what he needed, was just $200. But it ended up going left. And here we are, fast forward. Now he has been in 4 different prisons because he's been transferred. And now he's in one of the worst prisons in Illinois.
Oh wow.
And he has been in solitary confinement for over 2 years.
2 years?
2 years.
Why? You know why?
Um, People always be like, well, he needs to get his head together. We both don't, unless you've been in prison. I've never been to prison. Have you been to prison?
Never.
I don't know what it's like to survive.
Exactly.
And so was I upset? Yeah. But one of my friends who went to prison, who's out and just doing great things in the community, told me that you don't know what's going on in there. You don't know what it takes to survive. So I had to step back and forgive myself and not be angry with him because I don't know what it's like. So he said he was fighting all types of stuff, but he said, Mom, I can't tell you because the lines are recorded. He says, I would definitely tell you the story when I get out.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't. Yeah.
How many years was he given? You know?
So they gave him 30. They were going to give him 30 years because it was a home invasion. And let me just back up. So he went to jail. He went to jail before he went to prison. So we got him out of trouble the first time, right? We came up with $10,000 for a lawyer, and we had a long talk. You know, we had that mama talk, and I'm talking about that black mama talk. Like, you don't get your ass together, because who just got $10,000 to keep paying for a lawyer. And so we had a long heart to heart, and I was like, I'm gonna get you out of trouble this time, but the second I said, if you mess up again, I'm not gonna do this one, because it was just too much emotionally and physically for me. And unfortunately, he didn't listen. He ended up going down a road, and the next lawyer wanted $30,000. And I remember him calling me, and I was just like, Damiani, I'm not going to cough up $30,000 for you. I'm not going to take out this loan. He wanted me to take out a loan for him. Who finna take out a $30,000 loan for something that you know better?
That's correct.
So, and I know a lot of moms look at me crazy in the group, and a lot of people, when I tell the story, they're like, I would do anything for my son. I love my son, but I just wasn't going to take out $30,000, especially when I worked so hard for my credit score. Y'all know how credit scores be. And I was just like, no.
Well, I hear you, Tiffany. Like I said earlier on when we started talking, I said I've worked with a lot of young kids. You're right. When a young boy gets to the age of 12, they start to make those shifts. It's a gradual shift. And yes, I know that in most black homes in the U.S., single mothers are the ones raising these boys. But the truth of the matter is that a single mother can't raise a guy without some kind of support of a strong male figure, be it a coach, be it a mentor. Someone has to be involved in the child's life to actually help that young man make that shift. Now, what happens is when they get to that age of 12 and 13 and they begin to transition and make that shift, the challenge is most parents, and not just mothers, can't make that transition with them, right? So once they start to make that shift and they start to turn, and you keep on going straight, something's going to break, right? So once they start making that turn, you got to lean with them and gradually keep on pushing them until they go straight. If you continue to push back, something is definitely going to break. Now, if a young man definitely needs that father figure and doesn't have that father figure, he will find that father figure anywhere else in society or in the community, and sometimes ends up being on the streets. Right?
And that's what happened.
Yeah. So even with our girls, right? When they start looking for that father figure and they can't find that figure, they start jumping from man to man to man to man to man, looking for that same father figure they missed in the house. And that's why it's so challenging when we don't have those father figures at home or those father figures present in the life of our children in the community. So I applaud you for what you've done so far. And it's sad that your son has ended up incarcerated. Let's step back a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about the myth. There's a general misconception that people have of when families have loved ones incarcerated, because you just hinted on it, but you didn't go into details. I would like you to share, because there are mothers out there who have done their best, or parents out there who have done their best, and at the end of the day, maybe for one decision or the other, their children have slipped off and found themselves in that position. What is the misconception that you normally get?
I get all the time on the show. That's a great question too. Because in the comments too, when I post on my platforms, people are mean. Let's just say that. The first thing I get is your child is in prison because of you as a mother. That's what a lot of mothers get all the time, is that you failed your child because your child should have been raised properly. I get that so much in the comments, and there's mothers in the group that send me messages saying that their neighbors blame them because Timmy went to prison. That's what society thinks, that it's all because of the mother. Like, why weren't you at home? But the mama got to put food on the table. You know what I'm saying? So she can't be in all places at once, especially if she's raising that child by herself. That struggle is real when you're if you have multiple children and you have to work overtime to put food on the table, or if your child wants to play, piano lessons, who pays for that? Especially if there's no father in the household. So that mother's going to work overtime to have that little girl play piano lessons. But if she's not at home, unfortunately, sometimes now you have all these apps and all these social media platforms, a child may drift away. But is that on the mama? Because she's trying to provide for the household. It's like mothers can't win for losing. Like, why wasn't you at home? But I got to be at work for overtime for the night shift.
That's good.
And it's just like people always point fingers, and I always say, when you point fingers, you got 3 fingers pointing back at you. You know what I'm saying? So we're so quick to judge a single mom, but we don't know her struggle, and we don't know her story, and we don't know how her mama raised her.
That's correct.
We're just always so quick to judge that individual because Timmy or Michael Michelle went to prison, but we don't know if Timmy had mental illness.
That's
and
correct.
The mama tried everything she possibly could, and she drained her savings account to get him mental health, but that still didn't work. I have so many mothers that are I have over 7,000 mothers that tell me their stories. And there's so many people who have drained their savings account to save their child, but they still ended up in prison. So who's to blame? So society needs to, I always say, y'all need to hold up a little bit. Don't blame the mom until you walk in them shoes, them 7.5, heels that we got to put on those 4-inch. Not sneakers. We put on heels for y'all.
I'm listening to you, and I'm like, it's interesting you're sharing this with 7,000 mothers on your platform. I know you run Cosmic, correct? That's the name of your organization.
Yes.
Which is all about mothers who have their kids incarcerated.
Yes.
And I know that society sometimes would blame you for it, but the flip side is, and I'm a Christian, so I'm going to use a Christian.
Please.
It says that a living dog is stronger than a dead lion. A living dog is much stronger than a dead lion. I'd rather have your loved one incarcerated with hopes of coming out than being in a grave somewhere.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of parents who never had that opportunity.
Never.
This kid was either in the wrong place at the wrong time, or maybe they were in a place where they've always been, and they got caught up, bullet hits, and another young man is on the graveside. And so, as painful as it may be, there is still hope for anyone who has a loved one incarcerated, that one day they will come up with life. Then actually, saying that I've lost all opportunities. Like you just said, a good friend of yours who had been incarcerated, he's out and he's doing great work in the community. Sometimes you might need that to rehabilitate them and get them out. And I think that's where the government has to come in and not just lock this young man or this young woman up, but actually have programs for them while they're there to make sure that the focus is to get them out and make them more suitable to be in the society and not reoffend again. The problem I have is that the government strategy most of the time is just to lock them up and throw them away, right? Because people make big money when they send kids to prison. Everyone's got a piece of the action, the judge, the police, the wardens, the owners of the prisons themselves. It's big business in America. And so with that happening, people just, go and get locked up. But unfortunately, I wish that some systems could be placed where these young men and young women go in and get some real good training out there, and then put them back in society again, because everyone deserves a second and a third chance. I just wanted to put that out there.
No, everybody does. There's a documentary on Amazon. It's Blue Baby. And there's a program they do for juveniles. So it's an alternative of prison. They don't actually go to a physical prison. They go into a home and they teach them social skills. Like if they did things like that, that would help society so much more. Because mass incarceration is just, it's over 2 million people that are in prison.
Wow. That's a lot of people.
And it's $1 billion industry. In the prison that my son is in, it's $27,000 per inmate.
How much again?
$27,000 per inmate. And that's just in his prison. So other prisons, obviously, the cost is different. But $27,000 per inmate, and they have over 3,300 inmates in this prison that he's in. So do the math.
Yeah, it's big business.
That's $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
So do you think society wants to reform them, change their mind? No, they want them to go out and go right back in.
Wow. Let's take a break on that one, Tiffany, and then we'll come back and then talk some more.
Okay.
My guest today is Tiffany Nicole from Los Angeles, California, and we're talking about heartbreak to healing. Mother of an inmate, the owner and coordinator of Cosmic, which is a platform that helps parents with children who are incarcerated. We mentioned Tim, we mentioned Johnny, we mentioned Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of women or girls who are incarcerated. The general misconception is that we have more men. Can you enlighten us on that, Tiffany?
Yes. So basically for the women that are incarcerated, it's 1 in 4 women that go to prison, right? But out of the 1 in 4, what the numbers is, 1 in 2 are Black women.
So hold on again. Say that again.
So 1 in 4 women are incarcerated, right? 1 in 4, right? So, but out of the race, it's 1 in 2. So there's more Black women that go to prison.
Than Black men?
Yes, than Black men.
We have more Black women in prison
than you do have Black men. And I don't think society knows that. So what about that? The impact of breaking up that family home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Learning all of this on this journey of, the devil mean it for your bad, since you're spiritual. The devil mean it for your bad, but God means it for your good. And I never would have dig deep into the justice system or the prison system if Damiani didn't go to prison.
Share some light on that, please. We want to hear.
So, for example, there are so many people. I'm going to use this lady that I know in my group. Her son, we had to send over, thousands of emails to the warden because he wasn't getting his meals. I don't think people understand, you commit a crime, they should do the time. I get all of that, yes. But they're still human beings. Just like my son, when he was in solitary confinement, they were only giving him 1 meal. So we had to figure out a way how he's going to get all 3 meals. He wasn't getting all his meals. There's so many things behind the scenes that people don't understand as far as the CEOs, the correctional officers, when they go in there. Sometimes they're mean to you. And if they don't like you, they'll shorten your visit. So you've driven 7 hours to the prison to see your child, and you get there on time because they make you get there on time. You get there 20 minutes before. And then once you check in, it's up to the correctional officer to send you back there whatever time they want you to. So if your visit is 2 hours and your time for your child is at 2:00, the correctional officer may take you back at 2:30. So you miss your extra 30 minutes because they are in a mood that day. So instead of you don't even get your full 2 hours sometimes. It depends on how they feel. Now, is that fair to a person that's coming to see their child?
So there's no policy in place, no procedures that you just have to give them that?
it's up to them and how they feel. There's so many stories I've heard from mothers who be like, they only gave me 45 minutes because they had an attitude with me. It's so many. And then like, oh my God, here's one. I would never forget when I went to go visit my son. So they have the vending machines, right? Mm-hmm. And the food in the vending machine, I picked out some Starburst and some chips. They were expired. In the vending machine as I'm visiting my son. So I go to the CEO, was just like, well, can I get my money back because it's expired? And he looks at me, he goes, no, you can't. And I'm just, and he probably thought I was like a little bit touched because sometimes I am. I was like, well, I'm a taxpayer, so I shouldn't get expired chips. I know that sounds crazy, but it was expired. And I'm like, I'm a taxpayer. I pay a lot of taxes to the state of California. And I shouldn't get expired potato chips. But things like that. I know people are like, oh, well, who cares? But that's expired. So why should an inmate get expired stuff to eat? They're still human beings. And my son, when he writes me, he's like, Mom, they treat me like I'm an animal. Wow. So it's up to the seat. Like, people don't know how they're really they are treated awful in there. I can only speak for my son and then the mothers that tell me their stories. I can't speak for all 2 million people that are incarcerated. I can only speak for the stories that people have shared with me.
Well, let's take a few questions. Someone just asked a question. It says, what resources or communities are out there to help mothers navigate what you're going through, apart from what you do?
So if you're looking for like a support group, I have one. Mine is my son is in prison, or my child is in prison. Now what? And that's a platform where it's a private Facebook group where we provide support, because every mother that comes into the group, they talk about, I feel guilty because my son is in prison or my daughter's in prison. So we provide like mental health, and we provide, because as I gained 25 pounds, I lost the 25 pounds. So we talk about health, self-care, self-love, because it's not your fault why your child went to prison, because I went through therapy too. And I believe in therapy. I believe in therapy, wine, and Jesus. I need wine, his first miracle. So that's how it all works together for me. And we do like lives, we do Zoom calls together. People share their stories, because not everybody cares, for one, and out of sight, out of mind. So the family members, they say they love your child, but if they don't see Timmy and Melissa at the reunion, they're not thinking about them. So I provide that support for the group. And there's also another platform too that people want to check out. It's SE Justice Group. That's a platform for, they deal with only women only. So they help you.
Justice Group?
Yes, SE Justice Group. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's out here in California. And they only deal with women that are incarcerated. So they have they do outbreak groups. They provide you to get through the trauma that you have and and if you need to talk to someone, they provide all those services.
Well, someone just asked another question. It says, what advice do you have for mothers who feel isolated and judged in similar situations? I guess this is what you were talking about.
Ooh, girlfriend, let me tell you for that one. This is where, as the mother, because I was there, because I was pointed for because my son was in the newspaper, by the way, back home. And my family is very well known in a small town. It's called Elgin. So my mom and dad are very well known, right? So my son was in the newspaper. So, and I embarrassed the whole family, and so did my son. So with all of that being said, I felt ashamed and guilty. But this is where your spiritual walk, this is where you put your blinders on, and it's you and Jesus, Abraham, Isaac, Mary, and Martha, and your therapist. And this is where you do some soul searching. This is work that the woman has to do. You have to really sit down and you have to get with God, and you got to get with your therapist. And then after you get through that, that's where the healing comes from. And then after that, you don't care anymore. Here I am talking about my son's in prison. I'm not talking about he went to Harvard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now, since I went through all the steps, I'm okay now. It wasn't overnight. So to the person that asked that question, it's going to take some time, and it's going to take some true soul searching. And I believe in getting a therapist, because I had a great therapist through my walk.
Well, just for the sake of giving a tip, what would be the first 4 steps you think anyone should take based on your personal experience?
Grab a pen and paper. You're going to need a journal. You're going to have to That's one. Yeah. Well, I would say number one is God.
Okay.
It's the first one is God. You have to have God because that's what got me through. And then the second one I would say, grab that journal. And the third one I would say is your health. Because if you become sick and depressed, but when your child get out, what it look like and you're gonna be in the hospital because you're just so sick and you're depressed. So I would say the three things is having God and getting a journal, and your health and your mental health is so important in that self-care, because there's so many people that are so absorbed with their child being in prison. And I told myself I was not going to live like that. I'm not. He committed the crime. Was it right? No, it wasn't. But he knows it wasn't right. But I'm going to wait for him and believe that God has changed his mind. And I'm going to keep living. Because if I didn't, just imagine if I didn't fulfill what I'm supposed to fulfill now on my podcast, I wouldn't be talking to you.
That's correct. That's correct. So you were definitely heartbroken when you found out.
Definitely. When I tell you I gained 25 pounds and I was like, Jesus, what? And I was just like, no, I can't let this consume me. I can't. And I saw myself, I was like, God, what am I going to do? And he said, start the podcast, start it. And I started it. And now I have over 7,000 women over my platform. And I created a YouTube channel for just mothers with incarcerated kids. Wow. And there's so many inboxes that I get on a daily basis saying, thank you for this. I thought I was losing myself. I created, move your body movement, where we get up and we move some type of our body. We don't sit on that couch and we binge watch Netflix. Move your body. And the main purpose of this movement that I'm starting is like, I always tell the mothers, what happened if you die tomorrow? Let's say you die tomorrow. You get to the kingdom with God, right? You see Tupac and Biggie in heaven, right? With Jesus. And then God asks you a question and says, why did you fulfill your purpose? And what do you say? Well, Michael went to prison, God, and I was depressed. God ain't going to ask you about Michael. He going to ask you about you.
What I gave you. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's why I'm pushing mothers to push through this pain. There's purpose in this. You got to push through this.
And you have found purpose. That's the joy listening to you. You have actually found purpose out of this adversity. So from a heartbreak to the point of healing, and now you're at a place of purpose, and now you're empowering other mothers. Well done, Tiffany. Well done.
Thank you. That's all God.
Wow. It must have been a very challenging time for you and to get to this point. I'm not going to ask you how you lost your 25 pounds, or should I ask you?
You can ask me. I got my ass up and I went to the gym.
So how did you lose 25 pounds?
I got my ass up and went to the gym, and I cut back eating them chicken wings. I put that soul food down, that mac and cheese. I had to put that stuff down, seriously. Because at the end of the day, how would my son feel? I'm his mom, or he gonna be like, Mom, it ain't that serious for you to get like that. Like he would be mad at me.
Well, that's a good tip. So you hear what Tiffany said, guys, just in case you're going through a sense of depression, put the chips down, start to move your body, get a gym, get some therapy, and obviously, most importantly, God in the midst of everything you do should be at the core of who you are. Tiffany, thank you so much for your time. It's been a joy. I know you and I can go on and on about this, but we have a limited time. We're just about to wrap up. Before I let you go, please, I'd like you to say something. What one message would you want to tell other mothers, and in some cases fathers, who are out there who have a child or children or a loved one, their spouse is incarcerated? What's the message you would like to pass out? Look at the camera, and this is it.
I want to say, guilty or not guilty, that is still your child. You're not alone on this journey. And always remember that there is a reason. I know this sounds crazy, but there's a reason why your child ended up in prison. You may not know it now, but later down the road, the pieces are all going to come together, because all things work together for your good, the bad, and definitely the ugly.
Wow. Well said, Tiffany. You couldn't have said it better than that. So from the bishop herself, so Bishop Nicole herself, we want to thank you for making out to the podcast. It's been a joy listening to you. I pray that everything goes well with you and your son.
Thank
and your
you.
loved one. And I pray that your parents have come to a place of forgiveness also too and healing, so the whole family can move forward. We look forward to the day when your son comes out and everybody's healthy and sound to celebrate that great opportunity. Thanks for gracing your presence on the BNS podcast. If you're watching this, please like, click, and follow, and click on the notification button so you know when the next show comes up. On behalf of all my guests, my special 3 words: love, peace, and more grace. Thank you, Tiffany. I hope to
Thank
see
you.
all right.
All
Take
right.
care.
You
God
too.
bless. And say hi to my people out there in LA.
I will.